إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام والسنة. All praise and thanks belong to Allah for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the Sunnah. حدثني جماعة من الشيوخ بإسناد كل إلى سفيان بن عيينة وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته عن عمرو بن دينار عن أبي قابوس مولى عبد الله بن عمرو عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن عاص رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الراحمون يرحمهم الرحمن ارحموا من في الأرض يرحمكم من في السماء. وقال العلماء ذلك بأن العلم رحمة نتيجته رحمة في الدنيا وغايته رحمة في الآخرة. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that those who are merciful, they will be shown mercy by the most merciful. Be merciful to those who are in the earth, and the one who is above the heavens will show you mercy. The ulama, they say this is because knowledge is mercy. The result of knowledge is mercy in this world, and the ultimate goal of knowledge is mercy in the hereafter. We continue going over the explanation of the 40 hadith, those 40 hadith that was authored by Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullahu ta'ala. We have reached the 19th hadith, al-hadith al-tasi' ashar, the 19th hadith, عن أبي العباس عبد الله بن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما. It's on the authority of Abu Abbas Abdullah bin Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. He said, قال كنت خلف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يوما. He said, I was behind the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم one day. فقال لي, and the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said unto him, يا غلام, O young boy. There is a lot of benefit that is contained here in this particular narration. The Fadilat al-Shaykh al-Allama, the Muhaddith of Medina, he mentions and he highlights certain portions. And inshallah ta'ala we will look at them as we come to them. But here in this statement, Ya Ghulam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was addressing a young boy, which shows you the concern that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he had for all of the Sahaba, the elders from amongst them and the youth. And this is of extreme importance because having a concern for the youth is extremely important, because they will be the future leaders It would be the future administrators, so on and so forth. And them being righteous and being rectified is extremely important for the society as a whole. And we must make a concern that we establish institutions that will benefit the youth, that will benefit them in their learning of the religion, learning of the foundations of the religion, and of those subsidiary matters of the religion. Likewise, that we have a concern that they are properly being educated in interdisciplinary studies without any corruption, without any fitna. And that is impossible if they are inside of the institutions of the kuffar. There will be much corruption, there will be much fitna, much trials and tribulations that will have subsequently an adverse effect upon our youth. So it is important that we take this extremely serious. As the Prophet ﷺ, he took the time to engage with this young man, to educate them. And we see that from the next statement of the Prophet ﷺ. As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Inni u'allimuka kalimat." He said that verily I'm going to teach you some words. I'm going to teach you some words. The Prophet ﷺ, meaning he's going to give him a number of advices. Now, the first of the advice, the first lesson that the Prophet ﷺ, he gave unto him, he said, "Ihfadillah yahfaduk." Safeguard and preserve the deen of Allah, and Allah will safeguard and preserve you. Ihfadillah tajiduhu tujahak. Safeguard and protect and preserve the deen and that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made obligatory upon you and the like, and you will find him in front of you. And inshallah ta'ala we'll come to see more in depth in detail what is the meaning of these particular sentences. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Idha sa'alta fas'alillah, wa idha ista'anta fasta'in billah." And when you ask for help, when you ask Allah. And when you seek help, then seek the help, aid, and assistance from Allah. وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ الْأُمَّةِ لَوْ اجْتَمَعَتْ عَلَى أَنْ يَنْفَعُوكَ بِشَيْءٍ لَمْ يَنْفَعُوكَ إِلَّا بِشَيْءٍ قَدْ كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ لَكَ. He said, and know that if all of the nation were to come together to benefit you with something, they will be incapable of benefiting you with anything except that which Allah has written for you. وَإِنِ اجْتَمَعُوا عَلَى أَنْ يَضُرُّوكَ بِالشَّيْءِ لَمْ يَضُرُّوكَ إِلَّا بِشَيْءٍ قَدْ كَتَبَهُ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكَ. And if they were to come together to harm you, they will be incapable of harming you except by that in which Allah has written against you. رُفِعَتِ الْأَقْلَامِ. The pens have been lifted. وَجَفَّتِ الصُّحُفِ. And the scrolls have dried. رواه الترمذي وقال حديث حسن صحيح. Imam al-Tirmidhi, he narrates, he collects, and he brings this hadith, his collection of hadith, and he says that this hadith is Hasan Sahih. When you hear that phrase, Hasan Sahih, this means that there is a chain or a number of chains of this particular narration, and they are Hasan. There's a chain, and the chain is Hasan, is good. And there's another chain of this hadith, and it is Sahih, it is authentic. But for riwayah, for Tirmidhi, and in another narration inside of Tirmidhi, the wording is ihfadillah tajiduhu amamak. To safeguard and protect that which Allah has commanded you to safeguard and protect, and you will find him in front of you. Ta'arraf in Allah fi rakha. Know Allah in the good times, when things are easy, good, You have prosperity. يعرفك في الشدة, and he will know you in times of peril, when things are rough, tough, difficult, times of trouble. واعلم أن ما أخطأك لم يكن ليصيبك, and know that that which has missed you, it will never reach you. وما أصابك لم يكن ليخطئك, and whatever touches you, then it will never miss you. وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ النَّصْرَ مَعَ الصَّبْرِ, and know that the victory is coupled with patience. That the victory, it comes along with patience. وَأَنَّ الْفَرَجْ مَعَ الْكَرْبِ, and know that there is relief to discomfort. For every discomfort, for every troublesome situation, there's relief. There will be relief for it. وَأَنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا, and that verily, with difficulty comes relief. With difficulty comes relief. When one reflects upon this hadith, just the wording of the hadith by itself, they will see that this hadith is a hadith that contains life lessons. This is that in which we will utilize and take with us throughout the course of our lives. You will find that this is strength for an individual, for those who truly understand this particular narration and they apply it inside of their lives. You will find that this will help in their quality of life, in the worldly life and in the life of the hereafter. Let us reflect and let us look at those phrases and sentences in which the Shaykh, he highlighted. And as is known, there the Shaykh, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he explains these 50 hadith in a summarized manner. In a summarized manner. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we want to try to keep it as the Shaykh he intended, because this is in fact the intent of this particular class. As this was the intent of this particular book that the Shaykh he put together, was to explain it from this standpoint. There's much more that could be said and more depth that could be gone into, but that is inshallah ta'ala for other classes, that is inshallah ta'ala for other sessions and the like. And it's important that this is highlighted, because if you study the likes of these ahadith from beginning to end, never let the shaitan come to you, or the evils of your soul come to you, whispering to you and tell you, when given the opportunity to perhaps go over it again, to say, oh, I've done that, or I've studied that before. Because the reality of it is that even though you may have studied it before, even though, and this says, Juyaanee, you could be going over the exact same book. The exact same book. As the ulama, they mentioned, the second reading is not like the first reading. You're going to see things the second time you didn't see the first time. You're going to understand things and more in depth the second time that you didn't see the first time. You didn't understand them quite the same way the first time. And likewise, the third reading is not like the second reading. The third time you read it, the exact same thing, you will understand better, and you will see things you didn't see the first two times, and so on and so forth. So the one who says that, oh, I've already done that, then they will have cheated themselves for much. Because they will either have cheated themselves from picking up on something that they skipped the first go round, and they will have cheated themselves from increasing upon the certainty they already had that they attained the first time. Now, the reminder benefits the believers. It will just increase you in your knowledge. It just will increase you in your understanding. It will increase you in your certainty of the subject matter, so on and so forth, the more times you go over it. Now, and you'll find this was the way of the Salaf. They used to read books a number of times, the same book. Now, if you have an opportunity to read the same, or the explanation for these exact same ahadith, but from another scholar, Now, for example, you read the explanation of Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala. Shaykh Uthaymeen, you're going to find in his explanation that which you don't find in the explanation of Shaykh Abdul Muhsin. And vice versa. You're going to find in the explanation of Shaykh Abdul Muhsin that which you don't find in the explanation of Shaykh Uthaymeen. So you will benefit by picking up on those things that were mentioned here, that was not mentioned there, and you will benefit by being reminded and fortified in those things that they commonly mention. Now, so either way you win. It's a win-win situation. It's a win-win situation. Now, so it's important that we take this approach when it comes to knowledge in general, and we never cheat ourselves. When a person says, oh, I have already done that, then they have cheated themselves. They have cheated themselves tremendously. على كل حال, the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, وَقَوْلُهُ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ احْفَظِ اللَّهِ يَحْفَظْكَ, to preserve, and I'm translating it based upon the meaning, not based upon the actual, the word for word translation, right? But based upon the meaning. Because if I were to translate it word for word, it wouldn't quite make sense now in the English language, and you wouldn't understand and grasp what was intended. So the meaning brings you a little closer to understanding that, and the explanation brings it a lot more closer as far as enriching your understanding. Now, so the Shaykh, he mentions, he says that what is meant by this is احفظ حدود الله, to preserve the boundaries of Allah. To preserve the boundaries of Allah. How does one preserve the boundaries of Allah? Now, how do we preserve Allah's boundaries? بِامْتِثَالِ أَوَامِرِهِ, by implementing the commandments. Now, so this is important, because you find that this phrase is repeated, and each time what is said now will be said then. Now, so what is meant by احفظ الله, then it means that what? You have to safeguard and protect the boundaries of Allah by what? By implementing, by fulfilling the commandments. You're commanded to do something, then you fulfill it. Now I want you to reflect on that. Because if you want Allah's protection, then you have to do what you're commanded to do. So I just want you to reflect upon that. What are some things that we are commanded to do? We are commanded to pray 5 times a day, right? And I want you to remember, the Prophet ﷺ, he is giving these words to a young man. It's not an old man. It's not a middle-aged man, right? It's a young man, a youth, from the youth. Safeguard and protect, implement, do that in which Allah has commanded you to do. So think about the things we're commanded to do. To pray, right? 5 times a day. Not like some of these nus youth. They say, oh, some days I pray 5 times, some days I don't pray 5 times. Some days I pray, some days I don't pray. No. That's not doing what you're commanded to do. 5 times a day, every day, without exception. Now, if you're sick, you're bedridden because you're sick, right? Then you pray in bed, but you pray 5 times a day, every day. Okay? What are some other things we're commanded to do? Be righteous to our parents. Be good and righteous to our parents. How many individuals you find they may be fulfilling one thing and then neglectful of another? Righteous man in the masjid, mashallah, he swears, he's a good brother, this, that, and that, but then he speaks very ill to his mother. Very disrespectful. He speaks very disrespectful to his father. Doesn't show them respect. Is this person fulfilling these words of advice? No, because he's not implementing, he's not doing those things which Allah Ta'ala has commanded him to do. And from those things we're commanded to do is to be what? Is to be good and righteous and dutiful to our parents, to be dutiful to our parents. Now, and so on and so forth. Just think of those things we are commanded to do. We have to do them. Wajtinab nawahi, and we stay away from that which is prohibited. Now, If we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to safeguard and protect us, we have to stay away from the haram. We have to stay away from the haram. Naam. And when we fall into the haram, what do? In the hadith from last week, what was it?
Tawbah.
Make tawbah. When we do a bad deed, what do? We follow it with what? With a good deed. What does a good deed do?
Eradicates the bad deed.
Eradicates it. Wipes it out. Naam. So when we do a bad deed, we follow it up by doing a good deed. And a good deed will erase the bad deed. In a particular, what? Tawbah. Because tawbah erases the big sin and the small sin. Oh wait. Or is it just the small sin? No, wait. Is it the big sin?
Both.
You tell me. Which one? Tawbah gets rid of how many? It erases both. Okay. Righteous good deeds outside of Tawbah. Right? It erases the big deed, the big sin, and the small sin, or just the big deed, or just the big sin.
Just the small sin.
Just the what? The one option I didn't mention.
Good deed.
The good deed.
Without tawbah, erases small sin.
Good deed without tawbah erases the small sin. Now, ahsantum. But you sure? Yeah. Nah, that's correct. But so when we do bad, we have to follow it up by doing good. And at the top of that is what? Tawbah, because it erases the big and the small sin. Now, and we increase in doing good because that wipes out the small sins. Even the ones, the small sins we didn't make Tawbah for, the good deeds wipe them out. Even without us making Tawbah for them. طيب. وَالتَّصْدِيقِ الْأَخْبَارِ. And we have to believe in that which we have been informed of. Meaning that what? Our aqeedah has to be right. You see that? So, is it enough for us just to be avid worshippers? Is that enough? We just worship all the time? Huh? Jama'at al-Tabligh. Right? And the like say worship, make ibadah. But they make an ibadah. That's it? Huh? No. Of course not. Because you got to what? What has to be right? Your aqeedah and minhaj has to be right. If your aqeedah and minhaj is not right, all of that ibadah you're doing, what? It's not really going to benefit you like that. Why? Because your aqeedah is messed up. And if you're doing those acts and it's upon bid'ah, then what? It really doesn't benefit you. Why?
It harms you.
It harms you. Yes, it harms you because you're doing something in which you weren't commanded to do. But it doesn't benefit you also because it does not what?
It's not legislated.
It's not legislated and it doesn't. It's rejected, so it doesn't count. There's no reward. Doesn't count. So you did a whole bunch of stuff for nothing. It doesn't count. It's not acceptable because it's upon innovation. Innovation does not count. Not count. So you won't get no reward for it. So it's what? It's not just a waste of your time. Because see, if you did something and it just wasted your time, that's bad enough. But not only does it waste your time, but now it gets you in trouble with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now you can go to hell for that. I don't think it gets more clear than that. Can I explain it any clearer than that? You can go to hell for doing bid'ah. Simple as that. So is that what you want to do? Because the whole intent of doing the ibadah is to draw near to Allah. Bid'ah pushes you far away from Allah. We do ibadah because we want to go to the Jannah. Bid'ah will get you to go to the fire. Naam, so there's no upside in bid'ah. So, coming to the youth and just telling them, pray, be righteous to your parents, so on and so forth, that's good, but that's it? No. What's more important than that? What's more important than the way we treat our parents? The way we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam. What's more important than the salah? The shahada. That's why they say the salah is the greatest pillar of Islam after the shahadatain. Because without the shahadatain, there is no salah for you. There's no fasting for you. There's no zakat for you. There's no hajj for you. Naam. So the greatest is what? Is that the aqidah is sound. And when one understands the dynamics of that, then they will understand how heavy the correct creed is in the scale. It's very heavy in the scale. When compared to an individual who may have a lot of acts of worship, but his aqidah is corrupted. His aqidah is fasida. It's corrupted. Now, then you have but he got a lot of good deeds. Then you have a person, he has a good aqidah, but his deeds is lacking. Who's in a better situation? The one with the aqidah that is correct. When that Bedouin came to the Prophet ﷺ and he asked him about what was upon him, and the Prophet ﷺ explained to him about the 5 prayers. Remember that? Inshallah ta'ala, we'll come to the hadith. Ala kullin. The Prophet ﷺ, and he said, I will do this and I will not go beyond it. What the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, I would do this, I will not go beyond it. It was the bare minimum. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, if he's truthful, for him is Jannah. Why? Because his aqidah was straight. You see? There was no mubtadi'ah in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. We understand that? So his aqidah was good. Now, person say, was he upon the way of the Salaf? Yeah, he was from the Salaf. Okay? His aqidah was good. And the Prophet ﷺ, even with a little bit of deeds that he said that he committed, he said, yes, I'm definitely going to do this, I'm not going to do anything more. The Prophet ﷺ, he said for him is the Jannah, because his aqidah was straight. The aqidah is very important. So we have to make sure that the children, they not only do what is right, but their belief is right. Right? They're not believing in Darwinism. Okay? They're not believing in these isms and schisms of the kuffar. They're not believing in these methodologies and things from the kuffar. But that their belief is correct. That which the Prophet ﷺ taught. That which was revealed inside of the Quran, inside of the Sunnah. That which the Sahaba, they were upon. There is no way to success outside of that. Period. When it comes to the deen, we look at the deen through the lens of the understanding of the Sahaba. Kitab Sunnah upon the way to Salaf. That's it. That's it. We don't look at the deen and what shapes our worldview or what shapes our view of the religion is liberalism. This one, liberali. Liberalist. Now, I met a Muslim one time. Muslim I went to school with, seen him in the grocery store, and they mentioned to me, seen them in the grocery store, right? And they said to me, yeah, you guys are like, you know, was talking to me and my family. They said, you guys are like the good Muslims, you know. I'm Muslim, alhamdulillah, but I'm like looking for the word. They said, I'm like a liberal Muslim. I said, yeah, Salaam, what's this? What you mean? What's that, liberal Muslim? I mean, what that mean? Muslim by name? I mean, what is that? What is that, liberal Muslim? But that's what subhanAllah, because they're looking at it in the lens of the West. Because in the West, you have what? You have the liberals, you have the conservatives, you have the people, the moderates, right?
You should have just said, I'm between 60 and 72. Because all of them still going to the fight.
Hey, love style, right? It's like, what does that mean? But this, because why? Because their outlook, even how they look at the religion, is coming from a secularist understanding. That you have these categories: conservatives, liberals, moderates, the end of it. This is how they're looking at it. Like this is these concepts are applicable inside of the religion. No, they're not. What do you mean? We are upon the Sunnah. This is what you're supposed to be doing. If people are righteous or they're not righteous. People are practicing or they're not practicing. Okay, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing or they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But this is from the tricks of Shaitan, how he beautifies the evil. And this is how these people sleep at night. By saying, it's not that I'm a bad Muslim, I'm just a liberal Muslim. Okay? Yes. You know, LGBTQ, you conservatives, you don't support them. But I'm a liberal, so it's okay. They struggling like we struggling. We can't knock anybody struggling. So we gotta be easy with them, right? No. Easy with that? Sodom and Gomorrah, they were destroyed. The people of Lut, they were destroyed. Were they dealt with in an easy manner? When the Malaika came down to punish them, did they go easy upon them? Huh? Or they destroyed? Right? Totally. So now what is our understanding of it? We go easy upon them? No. This is a crime that is punishable by death. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that? Of course I'm going to say that's the haqq. This is a crime that's punishable by death. So you're supposed to go easy upon them? No, I'm not advocating telling you to go out there and kill them. No, that's not our, we don't have the right to do that. That's not our authority. We don't have the authority to do that. Okay? But it doesn't change the fact that they're doing something that is punishable by death. So what do you mean go easy on them? What do you mean that our fight is won? No, our fight is not won. No, it ain't. Right? We ain't fighting for men to marry men, women to marry women, and then for them to adopt children and to corrupt the child. The child say, I got 2 mothers, I got 2 fathers, I got this, I got what? No, that's not what we're looking for. We're not struggling, Yaani, so that this person could walk into the same urinal that I'm in and say, oh, but I identify as you, even though you're clearly a woman. A man walk into the bathroom with the women and say, no, I'm really a girl, but he's clearly a man. That's what you're fighting for? So a dude could walk into the bathroom when your daughter's going to the bathroom? Your wife is going to the bathroom? What? No, we don't support that, period. So it's important that we teach the proper aqidah. Now, it is important that we teach the proper aqidah in every angle. Even when it comes to how we deal with these things that we face inside the modern world. How do we approach them? How do we deal with them? We have to teach the children correctly so that they have that balance. Because the Muslim, the Sunni Salafi, that's the one who's upon moderation. Because that's the deen, is moderation. So listen, we're not going to approve of what you're talking about, because what you're talking about is straight falsehood, right? I'm talking about the gay people still. We're not going to approve that because what you're talking about is false. And there's no way that we can ever tolerate that, because it is not tolerated inside of the deen. So we can't tolerate that. But at the same time, we're not going to go out and kill you. We're not going to go out and hunt you down and beat you up and so on and so forth. We're not going to do that either, because we understand that this is not proper. This is not proper. We're not going to physically harm you or anything like that, because we know this is not proper, because we're in the middle. But because we're not fighting you and killing you doesn't mean we accept you. Doesn't mean we're going to, kumbaya with you. Nah, not at all. We upon what we're upon, they be upon what they're upon. For us, our deen, for them, their deen. They're not the same. And we don't support what they do. Just like they don't support what we do. And you see and I'm sorry to go off here, but do you see the absurdity in that? They'll tell you straight up, they don't support us. But we're supposed to support them? Right? They don't accept our definition of marriage. But we're supposed to support yours and accept yours? They don't accept our lifestyle, but we're supposed to accept their lifestyle? Come on. What kind of weakness is this, man? Really? But we have to teach our children that they have this strength, they have this fortitude, but at the same time, they don't go too far off in one direction or the other. So, believing correctly in that which we have been informed about is important, because from those things that we were informed about is that if you do certain things, you're going to go to hell. If you do certain things, you'll go to Jannah. We can't waver upon that. We have to understand that upon that which is correct. وعبادته وفقا لما شرع, and we have to worship Allah in agreement with that which He legislated. لا بالأهواء والبدع, not with desires and not with innovation. We don't worship Allah based upon a whim. We just do what we want to do because we want to do it, how we want to do it, because we just figured out that's what we want to do. We don't worship Allah like that. We worship Allah based upon proofs and evidences, how we have been taught to worship Allah by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How many people say they love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Huh? How many people say, oh, we love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's the most important human being unto us. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then they turn around and don't imitate the Prophet ﷺ. How much you really love the Prophet ﷺ? You don't even want to look like the Prophet ﷺ. You don't want to believe like the Prophet ﷺ. But you tell me you love the Prophet ﷺ. What's your love based on? Based on what? Just because? This is food for thought. So he worship Allah Ta'ala based upon knowledge, based upon that which he has legislated. Because if we don't do that, remember in last week's class, there are two groups. There are two groups that got it completely wrong. One of the groups was the Nasara. The other group was the Yahud. What was the description of the Nasara?
Those were the people who went astray.
Those ones who went astray. Now, why?
Because they didn't seek knowledge, they acted upon their desire.
They didn't seek knowledge, they acted upon their desire. They had no dalil, they just did stuff. Now, they just invented stuff. Like, and those who, what's the other group?
Yahudi.
The Yahudi. And what was their description?
They received knowledge but didn't act on it at all.
They had knowledge but they didn't act on it.
They hid the knowledge.
They hid it.
Yeah.
They hid knowledge. They didn't act upon knowledge. This was their way. Right? So, Allah is angry with them. So these are two groups that we have to avoid. Now, if we were to do the aforementioned things, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will safeguard and protect you in the affairs fi umur dinik, in the affairs of your deen, and in the affairs of your dunya. Naam, He will protect you and safeguard and preserve you in the affairs of your deen. In the affairs of the deen, this is clear, because you will be what? You will be establishing the deen, and you will be staying away from that which is contradictory to the deen. Naam. And if you follow that which you're supposed to be followed, this will safeguard and protect you from innovation. Right? Because innovation is not that which is supported by the deen, because there's no dalil for it. So it will safeguard you from innovation. Now, and this is very, 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 very important that I stress this, especially for the youth. They have to be safeguarded and protected from innovation. Now, how do you safeguard and protect yourself from innovation? How?
You must have the correct aqidah and manhaj.
You must have the correct aqidah and manhaj. So that necessitates that you do what?
You got to learn it.
You have to learn it. Right? So the first round of protection is that what? You have to learn what is correct, so that you may be upon what is correct. Correct? But then, of course, you have to implement what you know. You have to live by what you know. So having situations where the children are being educated is very important. When I mean children being educated, I mean children are being educated, not just how it has become customary here in the West and other parts of the world as well. But let's talk about the West, because that's where we are. When it comes here in the West, it's become customary that the children, they go to weekend school, right? Whether that's just both days of the weekend or just one of the days of the weekend, they go to the weekend school. Okay, primarily the weekend school, what do they learn? No, I mean generally, what do they learn? They learn Quran, they memorize, they learn Arabic. I mean, that's why I learned how to read Arabic in the weekend school, right? That's why I learned my alphabet in the weekend school. That's why I learned the first few surahs in the weekend school. Okay? So I'm telling you from experience. I'm not like just, I'm telling you from experience what we was taught. And I went to a couple of weekend schools. One just one. You can say, well, that was just your weekend school. No, I went to a few weekend schools. Right? But primarily, we learned Quran, we learned Arabic, right? A little bit of fiqh, little bit of fiqh, right? You know how to pray, stuff like this. Our teacher was a Maliki, so he would teach us based on the Maliki madhab, right? So we had a little bit of stuff here and there, but primarily, that was pretty much it. Arabic, that was it. Is that all you need?
Nope.
No, you need to learn how to believe correctly. You learn how to believe. What about Tawheed? What about Tawheed? What about following the sunnah of the Prophet? I said, what about the proper belief in the angels? Proper belief in Jannah, proper belief in the hellfire, right? Qadar, khayrihi wa sharri, proper belief in the books. Huh? The proper belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the proper belief in the messengers. Where is that? Where is that at? A lot of weekend schools is not there. Kids go there to learn Quran, memorize Quran, which is good. But what I'm saying is that we have to decrease upon the good. The program has to be a program that covers everything that a child needs to learn. Their belief, the proper methodology. Need to learn how to read Arabic. Need to learn how to read the Quran, recite the Quran, memorize Quran. Need to learn what it means. Need to learn the fiqh that they need to know about wudu, tahara, salah, so on and so forth. There's things they need to know. The fiqh of siyam, fasting, because children, they fast. We was at the age where we were fasting, right? So they need to learn how to do these things that they are doing, actively doing. So they have to be taught in a well-rounded school. Okay, so this is just out there for educators to really look at their curriculums and then make sure that they are correct. Okay, what is another way in which that the child, they could safeguard themselves from innovation? Not just the child, but us too. What's another way?
Reading the books pertaining to fiqh Sahaba.
Reading the books about the fiqh of the Sahaba. That goes into learning. But what's another way? It's not connecting to learning.
Practicing.
We have to practice, which is true, but it's not connected to practicing.
Believe first.
I'm with you. I just want y'all to, get the motors turning. So we got education. You have to properly be educated. That helps us stay away from bid'ah. But what's another thing that helps us stay away from bid'ah?
Sunnah.
That goes into the first category of education. It's one more thing I'm looking for.
Study.
That goes into education. All that goes into the proper education and rearing, practicing. Centers, yeah, it all goes into education. That's all in that first category. It's one of those things where it's so obvious that we keep we overlooking. Is what? Is that we have to avoid the innovator. We have to avoid the person of innovation. The mubtadi'. Now, this is number 2. We have to avoid the innovator. Why is that? Because innovation does not walk around by itself. You ever met a bid'ah? I'm being facetious. Of course you haven't, because it doesn't walk around by itself. Right? Bid'ah don't walk up to you and say, yo, let me jump in your heart. It doesn't do that. But it's carried to you by what? By who? By an innovator. So then we have to be very keen and careful who we take our knowledge from. Right? And why do we have to be careful and keen who we take our knowledge from? Is there any innovator in the world that's going to come to you and say, Assalamu alaikum, I am an innovator. I would like to teach you innovation. Does any innovator give you that courtesy? No. But they come to you with the good speech, in the best manner, right? They mix truth and falsehood. So you recognize the truth that's in what they're saying, and that's what hooks you. The other stuff you don't know about, that's that innovation. That's how they poison you. You understand? It's like giving you poison-laced honey. You see the honey. You recognize it. You know what honey is. But you don't realize there's poison inside of it. It tastes sweet still. But once it starts to break down in your body, it's going to kill you. But you don't know. Sounded good. So it's incumbent, it's important that we educate our children to have a degree of caution. Just don't accept anything from anyone, but we have to teach them those principles so that they're able to identify what is right from what is wrong. And from that is to be cautious. Especially now. We live in a time, person go on YouTube and they just click. YouTube they have an algorithm, right? That if you click one thing, when that thing stops, automatically play something else based on what they feel that they think that you want to hear.
It's called Sheikh Google.
Right? And then they got Sheikh Google. Right? And so on and so forth. So we live in a time where it's very easy to find the wrong stuff. So we have to teach the children to have some kind of control. Just don't go click. Just don't go and, they have clickbait, their titles. That sounds nice. You click it and then, subhanAllah. We have to teach our children to be very keen. And this is important, and the ramifications, a person may come, because I'm not naive. A person may hear this, one of the Muslims, they may hear this and say, I don't like what this guy talking about. This guy sound like he tough. He sound like, he rough and stuff like this, right? What's wrong with that? Okay, same person in this scenario will understand exactly what's wrong with that if their child trying to sneak away to go to Turkey so they can go to Syria. How did that happen? Now they want to join Daesh. How did that happen? Now their daughters want to be a wife of a Daeshi. How did that happen? How you want to be an ISIS bride? How did that happen? Happen by itself? Happened from the internet. Because they was clicking on the wrong stuff, got invited to some chat rooms, got invited to some private WhatsApp rooms, so on and so forth, and now they get indoctrinated with this filthy Khariji methodology, ideology. Now, and then what? Then they join Khawarij. Where'd that come from? Just click, indiscriminately. Oh, now if your child want to join Daesh, now you understand what I'm saying. Your daughter want to go be a bride of ISIS, now you understand what I'm saying. You have to be careful. You have to be careful. We have to instill inside of our children caution. Now, we have to warn them about the evils of the Khawarij. So that when they hear the person and they speaking ill of the Muslim rulers, when they're making takfir of the Muslims and saying these people are not Muslim and so on and so forth, that they are able to identify, right? That they're able to identify that this person is one of them Khawarij. When they start saying we want to establish the real Islamic State because all of the Muslim rulers are kuffar and none of them rule by the Book of Allah and the Khalifa and all that type of stuff, that the child understands, this the Daeshi, this the Khawarij. We learn about them in the weekend school and how they're evil and how the Prophet called them the dogs of the hellfire. So we don't want nothing to do with that. We learn to be cautious. Just don't get on YouTube, click. No, be careful. Be careful. It's very important. And I stress this, it's very important. I stress this because it's very important. We're talking about programs for anti-extremism and teaching our children, so on and so forth, and protecting them from falling into extremist ideologies, so on and so forth. Well, this is part of it. You can't be willy-nilly with your deen and then complain when you get messed up. How do you think that happens? You see? So it's incumbent that we stress this and we get this across to our children, because if they were to do the aforementioned things there, then they will be protected. They will be protected. And listen, they'll be protected in their deen and in their dunya. In their worldly affairs as well, they'll be protected. Now, when we reflect back on some of what was aforementioned, we see how even from a worldly standpoint, they'll be protected in their worldly life. Now, al-jaza, al-jaza wafiqan, and they will have an appropriate reward. An appropriate reward. لأن الجزاء من جنس العمل, because the reward will be appropriate and in accordance to the deed. That's a saying that we hear a lot. Al-jaza min jins al-amal, that the punishment will fit the crime, that the reward will be in proportion, or the reward will be as relates to the deed itself, the action, right? This here gives us a good example of that. This concept, we get this concept, where does this principle extract from? The likes of these texts. The likes of these texts, that the reward will be appropriate to the deed, the punishment will be, will fit the crime. We get that from the likes of these texts. So the Shaykh, he brings you an example, because you hear this all the time. So the action here, al-amal, what is the action here? The action here is health, to be safeguarded and protected. This is what you have to put forward, right? So the action that comes from you is that you have to put forth a protection, preserving of what? What do we preserve? What does it mean to preserve? Tawheed, but from what the Shaykh he mentioned, I entered into it. The correct aqidah. Now, what else?
The fundamental principles that we believe. Who is your Lord?
The fundamental principles.
Who is his messenger?
Now.
And what is your deed?
Now, what else? We have to do what?
The articles of faith.
The articles of faith, all that enters into the aqidah, but we have to do what? We have to do what we are commanded to do. We have to stay away from what we are commanded to stay away from. Okay? And then we have to worship Allah based upon what He legislated. And we have to stay away from that which is not legislated. So we have to stay away from worshiping Allah based upon our what? No, we have to avoid worshiping Allah based upon our desires and based upon the other one, the other bad boy.
Avoid the innovation.
Innovation. There we go. Now, and what's some of the ways that we protect ourselves from innovation is by what?
Following the sunnah.
Following the sunnah, learning what is right, and staying away from the innovators. Let me say it again. A part of the way that we safeguard and protect ourselves from falling into innovation is that we have to learn what is the sunnah and be upon it. So education. And then what? We have to stay away from the innovator. Now, Sheikh Abani called it a tasfiyah with tarbiyah. Now, there has to be a cleansing, purification. And that purification is a purification from what? It's a purification from innovation. It's a purification from things that are based upon traditions that have no proofs and evidences. Now, it's a purification from doing things incorrectly, so on and so forth. That's purification. And tarbiyah is what? Education. Purification and education. Right? That's how we get right, and that's how we stay away from what is wrong. Now,
how do you say it in Arabic?
Tasfiyah with tarbiyah. A tasfiyah with tarbiyah. This is what Sheikh Albani, mashallah, he did a nice lecture upon it, and he translated and he transcribed it into a book, and I believe the book is translated as well into English. It's an excellent book. Excellent book. Now, ala kulli hal, this is our da'wah. Purification, education. Now, okay. So now let's go back to the thing. So, what we're asked to do, what's the action we have to bring forth, is that we have to preserve those things that we're supposed to be doing to the end of it. Correct? So then what's the reward we get?
Some people get too.
No. Check it out. I want you to just focus in on the words here. The Prophet ﷺ said that, "O young boy, safeguard and protect what Allah has commanded you to safeguard and protect, and Allah will safeguard and protect you." You see? So if we safeguard and protect what we're supposed to be doing, Allah will safeguard and protect us. So because we safeguarded and protected, then our reward is that we are safeguarded and protected. You see, and that's what is meant by jazaa and jasad. That you will be that the reward is appropriate for the deed. The deed is safeguarded and protected, so the reward is that we get safeguarded and protected. That makes sense? Very important. Very important. Ala kulli hal, inshallah ta'ala, we'll end it at this point, for this week's class. But I wanted to highlight, and of course, as those who are regular to the class know, it doesn't always go into this same depth, right? But I wanted to highlight how implementing these concepts here have an impact on our daily life. This has an impact on our day-to-day. This is not something that when we go to work now on Monday is gone. It's not applicable. No, it's applicable to what we're going to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to the end. Okay? It's applicable. And we have to understand that. This book is a book, the 40 Hadeeth of Imam al-Nawawi, is a book of principles. The Sunnah is based upon principles. You ever hear that? The principles of the Deen, principles of the Sunnah, principles of Salafiyya. Okay, where do you think these principles come from? They come from the text. They come from the text, the Quran and the Sunnah. This book is a book of a Hadith, text. But remember, we say that these Hadith that here, they have a special quality or characteristic in the sense that each one of these ahadith contain principles of the religion. Now when I say principles of literature, I mean principles of what? The Sunnah. When I say principles of the Sunnah, I mean principles of what? Salafiyya. So a person claiming to be Athari Salafi, upon Sunnah, min Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, so on and so forth. If you're not familiar with the principles that's in here, then you're upon Sunnah based on what? Because you said so? Right? It sounds like that schoolmate I met in the supermarket, right? Yeah, I'm Muslim based upon what I see. Right? You just upon Sunnah because you're upon Sunnah. We from Ahl Sunnah. Why? Because I say so? No, we have to implement, we have to know what are the principles and we have to implement them. Because when we say that we're upon that, it's not just for bragging rights, it's not just for Juyaanee so we can say something. It's because we are striving to be upon that which the Prophet ﷺ was upon, because we love the Prophet ﷺ, so we want to be like the Prophet ﷺ, we want to believe like the Prophet ﷺ. Right? That's what it's about. Period. It's about following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so He's to be followed. He's to be obeyed. لِيُطَاعَ. So we obey Him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is why we doing what we doing. That's it. Ain't no crew, ain't no clique, ain't no club, ain't no gang. No. We're trying to be like the best of mankind, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We want to be upon what he was upon, sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
And we want to get it right.
We want to get it right, exactly. We want to get it right. You understand? That's what it's about. So that is based upon principles. Principles based upon what he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he taught us. That's why books like this are important. When we go over the text. Those texts that explain the principles, so that we can apply those principles in our day-to-day life. These principles are not restricted to just when we're in the masjid, but these are principles that enter into our day-to-day life. Right? Reflect back on last week's hadith. Right? Fattaqullah. Where we fear Allah. Haythama kunt. Wherever you at. Wherever you at, fear Allah ta'ala. These principles into every aspect of our life. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll go on and look more in line with the intent of the book next week, inshallah ta'ala. فنتوقف يعني we'll stop here. فنكتفي بهذا القدر يعني نقف هنا ونكتفي بهذا القدر. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خيرا.